Well, those were the headlines we were tracking for you today on Startup Street. Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Megha Vishwanath, and with me is my colleague Mugdha Variar.
Thank you, Megha. Now, important developments in the space tech sector today. Two startups have become among the first to sign agreements with the Department of Space after the government opened the sector to encourage private participation earlier this year. Now, private satellite imaging company Pixel has entered into an agreement with New Space India Limited under the Department of Space to launch Pixel's first remote sensing satellite on an ISRO PSLV rocket in early 2021. And Chennai-based space tech startup Agnikul Cosmos has also signed an agreement with the Department of Space under the newly formed InSpace entity, under which it will get access to the facilities and the technical expertise of ISRO. So two agreements signed, one to help Agnikul build a launch vehicle and another to launch Pixel's first satellite. To talk about these important developments, we have Srinath Ravichandran, CEO of Agnikul, and Awais Ahmed, CEO of Pixel. Gentlemen, welcome on the show. Srinath, let me come to you first, but before that, a quick intro on what Agnikul does. Agnikul is building a private small satellite launch vehicle called Agniban, which will be a rocket that will be capable of carrying up to 100 kgs of payload to low Earth orbits. So Srinath, tell us what this agreement really means, especially since you now get access to ISRO's facilities. You know, will it accelerate all your work and all your plans?
Yes, that's right. So it'll do three things for us. One, I think it'll accelerate the pace of development of the vehicle itself. Second, it will make things a little less expensive for us because we have infrastructure that's going to be made available to us. And thirdly, I think the number of iterations you do would also be reduced because we would be having the opportunity to work more closely with ISRO. So I think it's a win-win-win in like multiple strategies for us.
Absolutely, big win there. Awais, coming to you, and firstly, quick intro again to what Pixel is doing. Pixel is building a constellation of nano satellites to provide global, real-time and affordable satellite imagery to help in multiple sector developments such as agriculture, oil and gas, etc. Now, Awais, your first satellite was, in fact, earlier scheduled to launch by the end of 2020 on a Soyuz rocket. You're now going to launch your satellite on an Indian PSLV rocket in early 2021. Firstly, tell us about these change in plans. What led to this agreement? And secondly, when is the launch expected?
So I think, as you rightly said, we were going to go up on the Russian Soyuz vehicle towards the end of this year, this month, in fact. But since we are a ride share, we don't really call the shots on the timeline. It's the primary satellite that does that, which meant that, due to COVID and other delays and the primary payload, the launch was further delayed. And that was one of the reasons for us to be able to shift to the ISRO launch, because this one was going to be earlier than the delayed launch. And the other thing was, we have been in touch with the Department of Space, within space, since the government's decision to privatize this space, and they were very keen, and we were very keen in terms of working together in under multiple sectors, be it testing facilities, be it the launch provisions. And as we all know, PSLV is one of the workhorses of ISRO and one of the most reliable rockets in the world. So once we got an opportunity to launch earlier than the previous contract that we had, that is why we made this decision. And then including COVID and other lockdowns, traveling all the way to Kazakhstan where the launch was going to happen was a health hazard for our team. So keeping in mind all those decisions, we decided we would launch from here. It's also a matter of pride for us that India's first private Earth imaging satellite launches on an Indian rocket. And tentatively, we're looking at Q1 of 2021.
Okay. In fact, I understand you're also looking to launch a total of 30 satellites by December of 2022. What about those? Will you look to launch those on the Indian PSLV rockets, or are you also talking to Russia to launch those on Soyuz rockets?
So it's a matter of timeline and costs for us. Not all of the satellites will go into the same orbit, and we might need to do multiple launches in a few days. But the preference is obviously to be able to work with ISRO to launch from here. It might not be the PSLV, it would actually be the SSLV, or it could be the Agniban that Srinath here is building. So as long as it works with our timeline and we're able to get to the orbit that we want, that's what we will look at. But we continue to work with the Department of Space, with ISRO, and we'll see if something can be worked out for the 30 satellites as well.
Okay, okay. Srinath, coming to you quickly, earlier in October, you had announced an MOU with the Alaska Aerospace Corporation to test launch the Agnibaण rocket. You had also told us that the commercial launches could happen late 2022. Tell us what the progress is there, especially because you're looking to get regulatory approvals. Are those on track?
No, I think these are two independent things, right? So I think now with the Indian government helping us so much here, obviously our focus is shifting a little more towards directly launching from India itself. And as Awais mentioned, a few other points about travel restrictions and so on also into place. I think now that the government has come forward to directly support us, things are going to be much faster for us. So looking probably at even earlier launch, previously we were thinking of say Q3 or Q4 of 2022. This might also get earlier now that it's going to probably be happening from India itself. So I think it's really a good thing that even before the official establishment of the in-space entity itself, the government has already taken steps to support development efforts like ours. So I think that's going to be great, and it's going to accelerate our progress itself. The goal being getting to orbit as soon as we can, and now I think it's going to be happening from India itself directly.
Okay. Okay, so everything happening from India itself. For both of you, looks like COVID has changed your plans as well, and you're now looking to launch from India. But thank you so much for joining us, both of you, and all the best with your plans. But with that, it's over to you, Megha.
Thanks a lot for that, and staying in tune with the tech updates. Stack Overflow, which is an online community for developers and technologists, was founded in 2008 and started as a programming Q&A website for developers. Over time, the company has built multiple products like Stack Overflow for teams, advertising, for talent, and for jobs. In July this year, the company raised $85 million in a Series E round of funding from a clutch of investors to essentially expand their SaaS product. The company has now decided to enter the India market along with a strategic partnership with the investment firm TimesBridge, and is all set to scale operations in this region. Joining me right now to talk about this move straight from Texas is Prashant Chandrasekhar, CEO of Stack Overflow. Prashant, thank you so much for being with us on Startup Street. Now, you claim to host over 100 million visitors on your platform every month, and I believe 15% of that are Indian developers. And interestingly, Bengaluru is the highest number of Stack Overflow users, is the city that hosts the highest number of Stack Overflow users. So apart from this, what were the other factors that drove you to enter the India market?
Well, thank you, Megha, for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on your program. Big fan. So in general, I think that we're super excited about the local Indian market for multiple reasons. Some of which you mentioned because of our very large number of users in the region, because we've got over, as you said, 100 million monthly visitors from around the world, and close to 15% on average. This past month, that's effectively what came from the Indian subcontinent. And we just see beyond the user base, our team's SaaS product, because as we are sort of on this journey of transforming into a SaaS company ourselves, it almost felt a little bit, it didn't make a lot of sense for us not to have Teams customers in the region. And most of our Teams customers are both in the US as well as in Europe. So it made a lot of sense for us to invest, given the massive user base. On top of that, there are some fundamental underlying forces that are in play in the Indian subcontinent. So obviously, the enterprise SaaS market growing by 30%, and that's supposed to be about a $3 billion market by the end of this year. So I think that's just going to accelerate very significantly, given globally over $1 trillion of spend moving to the cloud, and the DevOps market being about 10 billion or so. So I think in general, the macro forces, the move to distributed work, and just the movement to SaaS and the underlying user base that we have in the region is the reason we've decided to expand in the Indian subcontinent.
Okay, and any forecasts that you've made in terms of how will this number grow after a direct entry of Stack Overflow in India? How is this actually going to impact how Indian users are going to look at what you had to offer?
Yeah, I think on a couple of dimensions. One is that we're very excited, given that we're just getting started in India around our Teams SaaS product. That we really believe that there's going to be sort of this hyper growth phase over the next 3 years. So our partnership with TimesBridge, which we have a tremendous amount of respect for what they do in the region with great companies, like Cloudera and Airbnb and a whole bunch of other ones that we can discuss. It's just a tremendous track record of really being connected to the Indian enterprise market that's really growing very rapidly. So we expect our revenues from the region to be meaningful over the next 3 years or so. And then more generally for an average user or for an enterprise, what they will experience is that they will see a lot of great capabilities to be able to really, the Teams product, what it does is to be able to organize secure information within companies in an asynchronous fashion. So, given what we're going through and, with all the amount of the pandemic affecting all our lives and working in a distributed environment, this is a big boon, especially for developers and technologists to be able to collaborate and share knowledge, especially in their technologist workflow that they work in. So all developers and technologists, as we know, are on Stack Overflow. And so this experience is going to be integrated into their personal, private environments within their company. So that's what they can expect, with a lot of great features coming up over the next 18 months.
Absolutely. And, you did mention the pandemic. In fact, no conversation these days is complete without that. And I believe that actually COVID-19 pandemic had a positive impact on what you do and what you have to offer. I believe your Teams product is also rapidly growing and, in fact, doubled its revenues last year. And there was an increase in the surge in terms of traffic that you saw, especially during this lockdown world over. Can you quantify what that surge was and the impact that COVID-19 had on your business?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things very interesting. You would not have expected these sort of outcomes going into this year. Nobody really expected this year, right? But in general, what we've seen is a tremendous, actually, overperformance in our advertising business. Just to just mention that, because we obviously are a top 50 website in the world, given the 100 million monthly visitors that we have. And that's completely exceeded our, even our stretch expectations this year, because there's been a sort of flight to quality as it relates to technology companies trying to advertise to gain, developer mindshare. Now, going to Teams, which is, again, our SaaS product for collaboration and knowledge sharing, what we've seen is just a tremendous increase in the number of free trials. So, just users just trying it out because people are spending a lot more time online. And so we've seen the kind of an organic bottoms-up just adoption of our free trial year over year, almost 10 times more number of signups. And then in terms of our revenues for Teams, of course, like you mentioned, doubled year over year. It's been doubling ever since we launched the product in 2017. So we're obviously wrapping up the year in 2020. So we're hopeful for a good outcome. And then on our public platform, what we saw a really acute surge in traffic and signups. So just to give you a sense from a quantification perspective, on average, this is again 12 years after we were founded, in 2019, we saw something like, call it 150 to 180,000 signups per month from around the world. In this year, especially during the pandemic, at the height of the pandemic, back in April, we saw that number go up to 260,000 signups per month. So that was because of people spending a lot more time online, plus also other things that we did, launching certain features like dark mode that obviously played a heavy role in driving that number.
Absolutely. Well, Prashant, there's clearly a lot to talk about, and you've just entered the India market, so it looks like we'll have to bring you back on the show in a couple of months to get a status check on how you've been faring in the region, and we will bring you back on the show. For now, thanks a lot for joining us. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Startup Street, but don't go anywhere. We have more news and updates coming up for you on the other side. Stay tuned.